Welcome to the Booze Free Babes podcast for women breaking free from booze and stepping into their full potential. Join our sober sisterhood as we share stories, insights, and tips to help you thrive in your booze-free journey. Let's get bold, authentic, and booze-free together, babes. Woohoo! What is up, babes? We got Jill with us today, and today's show is going to be called Jill's Journey. So Jill's been a babe since the beginning, I think, or very close to the beginning. So
very close, yeah.
OG babe for sure. We are so grateful to have you on the call today, my fellow yogi and friend. So let's just hear a little bit about who you are, maybe some steps that you took to get sober, why you wanted to start on that journey, and we'll just take it away and just have a very casual conversation and see where this leads.
Sure. I am what I think is the very normal 45-year-old working mom, married, 2 kids, that got inundated and obsessed with drinking. I think it started somewhere around 2019. I had a really major change in my job and I failed miserably. And that was really hard for me. I'm an overachiever. I don't like to fail, as most of us don't. But if I had to pinpoint, I would say I think that's where things went bad. And then, just being in the throes of really being a mom of teenager, life being crazy and chaotic, and you fall into habits.
Right.
And I did that. I fell into reaching for alcohol to celebrate, reaching for alcohol to comfort me, ultimately reaching for alcohol to numb me is what it boiled down to.
And do you mind if we share just the industry that you're in? We don't have to share your employer or anything, but just kind of the industry. I think it's important.
Sure. I'm in banking and I'm very open about my booze-free journey. I'll tell you a little side story. When I decided to quit drinking, it was 2023. I decided to quit drinking. I had won an award at work, and the ceremony was in January. So it was like not even a month into sobriety. And I was like in this environment that I didn't know anybody, that there was so much pressure to, be this certain person. And I could not stop telling people when it was happy hour, I don't drink anymore. Because, you get the, what are you drinking? What are you drinking? And, it was seltzer and cranberry juice. You don't drink? No, I just quit. And I was immediately like, I just quit drinking. And I couldn't even hide. They were like, oh, that's interesting. Is it like dry January? And I was like, no, I just drank too much. So I decided I don't need it anymore.
That is so great, though. Like, if I met you and I heard you say that, I would be like, hell yeah, way of taking ownership, babe.
I didn't know any other way. I just needed people to know that, I just don't drink anymore. I don't drink because I felt terrible about myself, and I don't want to feel terrible about myself anymore. And it's the most amount of freedom I've ever had in my entire life, honestly.
I love that. I feel like the freedom really comes when we're no longer obsessing about it. And so chat about that for a minute. How long did it take, do you feel like, on your sober journey for the cravings to go away, or maybe some of that crazy thinking that we have that we feel like we can't ever overcome it, right?
Yeah, that was, and it's still a process. We still are going through the stages of recovery, but I have always been open about what I was doing. So I was always open that 2023 was going to be my year of not drinking. I never walked into it saying, I'm going to quit drinking forever. I'm never going to do this again. I promised myself 12 months of sobriety, and that was it. There was no flexibility for me to fail in this. There was never a time that I said, well, if this happens, then I'll be allowed to have a drink. If XYZ happens, then I'll be allowed to have a drink. There was nothing. I also have the great fortune of having a very supportive spouse that did this with me.
Wow, that is incredible.
It's amazing. As deep as I was in the throes of my alcohol lifestyle, I don't know that I could have walked through it if somebody wasn't holding my hand with me. I don't know that I had the strength on my own to do that. And so when I talk to people about not drinking, because people talk to me because I am open about it, and, well, how did you do this? What was this like? And I'm very honest. I am very honest. It is very, very hard. It is very hard. I don't think I've ever cried so much in my life over everything and nothing, because you are just trying so hard to learn how to process everything.
It's just
Everything.
like an open wound,
All the time.
right?
All the time. I will never forget on Mother's Day, that's about 5 months, 5.5 months into it. And the entire day I cried. I cried over the guilt of having lost myself to alcohol for years. I cried over the happiness that my children bring to me. I cried over the fact that I was sober for 5 whole months. There was nothing that I could not cry myself through. If I could do it, I could cry myself through it. Yeah, and that is to this day still how I will process. I don't cry nearly as much as I did.
In
Probably
early sobriety.
first 6 months of sobriety were just the most tumultuous with emotion, but I felt so supported. And I never felt like walking away from that commitment was an option.
It's interesting that you took on the challenge of committing to 12 months, right? And I know that's definitely out of the norm. That's probably different than other people might hear because we
Right,
focus on one day at a time.
right.
But you and I have a similar journey in that way. I also wrote the contract to myself to commit to 12 months booze
Yeah.
free. I think you did something similarly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
I just
you
said,
know,
I need a break, but I need more than a dry January. I need more than 90 days. I need a firm break so that I can just recollect myself and then I can drink like a normal person.
and how did that go?
I am almost 2 years sober now.
Yay! I love it. You had so much fun in your first year. You were like, let's stick around for another one.
So another part of the first year of sobriety was by about 8 or 9 months, I felt good. That's when the feeling of freedom presented itself. And that's when I felt like I've changed. I've changed. This has changed me. But I then became fearful because the end of my 12 months was coming and there was no plan. There was no nothing. There was no anything. And I thought, what do I do? What do I do? Like, I'm not ready to drink. I'm not ready for this year to be over with. I'm not ready. I don't think I can sit down and have a glass of wine. I don't think I'm capable of doing that still after 12 months. My husband looked at me and he goes, well, then we just don't drink again for another year. It's not that difficult. And I was like, oh,
Wow.
all right. Okay, you're right. But I was really, really glad that we put another time frame on it, right? There was this another whole no excuses, you can't walk away, you are committing to another year of sobriety. And now we are at the end of year 2. I don't feel the need to add another time frame. I will walk into 2025 as proud and sober as I am today. I don't want to drink. I don't want it. I don't want to go have a glass of wine. I don't want to go have a girls' night where everybody gets shit faced, pardon my language, and wakes up feeling the next day horrible. Not able to laugh with my kids or make dinner, or get up and teach fitness classes. So much of what I did felt like punishment when I was hungover. Like
Oh,
you had
wow.
you had to do that because you did this to yourself.
Oh my gosh.
This is nobody else's fault. This is your fault. You get up and you go do those things. And those are all the beautiful pieces of my life. Those are all
Yeah.
the
Now,
pieces
today,
of my life
right?
that I adore. Like that was never a punishment. That was never a punishment. I imposed that on myself out of guilt. And I don't have that and I don't want it.
I'm so glad that you brought that up because that explanation and using the word punishment is exactly the best use of that word in that situation. I
Yeah.
too had a similar routine being in finance. Jill and I have a similar background. So being in finance, it's like get up at 4 a.m., do your Orange Theory workout at 5, blah, 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 blah. This whole like stack your day, you've already accomplished more by the time you get to work than a lot of people have accomplished in a short period of time. Anyway, I get it. And that punishment that's the best way to explain it because I'm finding how do we define that? How do we talk about that experience? And I feel like that punishment is key. And then the other thing I wanted to hit on that you were talking about that I picked up on was the emotions, right? Like in early sobriety, we have to take off the lid that we've been stuffing down all of these emotions for so long, and they just come pouring out the top of us, like overflowing because we've stuffed them down for so long. I think yours was about what you say, 5 or 6 months. I think mine was like 8 months. When I hit 8 months, I just thought I was losing my mind. And it was just like, hey, we still got some work to do here. There's a lot more emotions that we need to process that I didn't
Yeah.
even realize that I had to work through, right? And that's true even to this day. We still have stuff to work through. But I
Right.
love that you pointed out that the very beginning, yes, it is a little bit of an emotional roller coaster, but once you get beyond that, it's
Yeah.
quite beautiful. And then one more thing I wanted to add when you had said earlier about, there are times that we still have a craving or whatever. I kind of gave myself permission that when I stop questioning if I can just have one, that's when I can drink again.
Right.
And I know that sounds crazy, but like if I have to sit here and have a conversation with myself and this glass on whether or not I'm going to be able to stop at one cup of like whatever, no,
Right.
that's the conversation that we're trying to eliminate.
Right.
And when you eliminate the product, the conversation stops in your head, right?
Right. It became negotiating my self-worth, right? If I can't have a glass of wine and I know I can't have a glass of wine, I'm diminishing myself for a glass of wine. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Like, and I'm worth more than that. How I feel is worth so much more than that. And that's where the freedom is. The freedom is nobody can ever take away what I have allowed myself to become. I'm the only person that can take that away from me. And there's not an ounce of me that wants to do that.
That
There's
is
not.
absolutely beautiful.
It's beautiful and it's an unendless feeling. And I don't know the words to say what sobriety has given me. I don't know what the right description is because it's so much bigger than any word.
Buying a home or investing in real estate doesn't have to feel overwhelming. At Fraser Lending Group, we're all about guiding you to smart, stress-free financing solutions. I'm Ellen Fraser, mortgage broker who understands your goals and speaks your language. We make homeownership and real estate investing simple and attainable. So whether you're a first-time home buyer or growing your real estate portfolio, we'll find a mortgage strategy that works for you. Because at Fraser Lending Group, your success is our mission. When we remove the coping mechanism, I love following Garber Mate. I don't know. I think that's how you say his name. Anyway, he talks about alcohol is the solution for people that choose that to be the solution, right? So
Yeah.
alcoholics, we've made the choice to use alcohol as a solution to soothe whatever the hell is going on inside of us, right? That's making us feel like we need to self-soothe. And
Right.
so when we're already solution based people, we found a solution that seems to work. It's just that the solution that we chose may not be the best solution for us overall. And that's okay, because we may have been taught that that was a solution through, maybe we taught that's our coping mechanism from the example that our parents set or whatever else, right?
Right.
That's the coping mechanism that we chose and that we led to. And so removing that coping mechanism opens up a beautiful world. And to just explain that to people that have that as their choice as a
Yeah.
coping mechanism, when you remove something that makes you feel like shit every day,
Yeah.
and then you recognize how awesome life is because you just feel good.
Yes. Yes. And
Hello, thank
I,
you.
I I think all the time about how embarrassed and ashamed and alone I felt when I drank, because I felt like nobody understood what it meant or how it felt to be drawn to something that when you woke up the next day you regretted. Every single time. Every single time. And part of all of the emotions and the crying was finding all of these resources, Ellen, like you, where you realized we're not messed up. Like we're not the crazy ones for wanting to walk away from things that don't serve us. We live in a world that glorifies alcohol for everything. There's everything is a mom joke. Every mom needs a glass of wine to wind down at night. There needs to be mommy nights where women sit around and drink wine and eat popcorn until their husbands have to come pick them up because they can't drive themselves home. Everything, work functions, professional functions, anything, hanging out with your friends, meeting up with old friends from years ago. Let's go have a drink and catch up. Everything revolves around
Getting a
alcohol
drink.
in
Yeah.
this world. Everything. And we think there's something wrong with us when we can't get out of that hamster wheel. When we feel stuck in something that just continues the same, the same, the same, the same. And we feel terrible about ourselves because we think we're the only ones that are going through it, and we're not. And I think I'm so thankful for people like you who are just so loud in their sobriety and so open and welcoming and saying, nothing wrong with you. Come hang out with us. Come be a
Come
part
be
of our
weird with us.
tribe. Let me find resources. And I think that that's one of the most beautiful things is my journey isn't going to be anybody else's journey. Somebody
Right.
else's journey can look 100% different than what my journey looks like. And they're still the right path. They're still the right way to travel.
And so one thing I wanted to ask you, I know you have a really cool routine. So I wanted to kind of ask you, what does a day in your life look like from a self-care routine perspective? Because I know you do, we're both yogis, but just share maybe what does your routine look like? And also what is a tool or resource that we can share with our audience on something that you found helpful in your early sobriety journey?
Yeah, so you're actually the yogi. I am just active. I wish I was more yogi. I am not good yogi. So not a lot about my routine has changed with the exception of I have removed alcohol from my life. So I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I make myself a cup of coffee and I sit in the quiet and the stillness of my house 10-15 minutes, and I just sit there and I exist and I think about what I want for my day. I think about how I want to interact. I teach fitness classes, so I think about how I want to interact with those beautiful faces that I'm going to see at 5 a.m. I go and I get sweaty and I work my muscles and I laugh and love this community that comes together at 5 o'clock every morning. And then I come home and I get ready for work and I wake my son up and my husband makes his breakfast and he makes my breakfast because he's such a good husband. And
That is awesome.
and I go to work and I do these things, but I am so much more self aware because I am not thinking about at 5 o'clock when I leave here, I'm going to get to go home and pop that bottle of wine and drink my day away, right? I get to come home and make dinner with my family and kind of sit in my day, right? So if it was one of those really good, great days and there were so many things going well and I can talk and I can share about it and we can all share about our day. And if it was a bad day, if it was hard and I am coming home and feeling frustrated and stressed, I can still do those things. I can still sit there in my feelings and process what is the next move? What is the next move for me to get through this in a way that I'm going to feel good about? And so from day to day, that is pretty much what I do. It's not exciting. It holds me accountable and it makes me feel good.
It's consistency, and it
It is
sounds like a self-love package for me.
consistency. If I am nothing else, I am consistent. And I think things for people that want to be sober have to think about is you have to be very self aware through your sobriety process, right? So you have to know what you can handle and not handle through this process. So, I didn't go into 2023 going, I'm going to be the healthiest version of myself ever. I'm going to eat everything perfect and I'm going to work out every day, or all I did was remove alcohol. I probably
Because
had,
if you pile on so
yeah,
much, it's
yeah,
just not attainable. You can't
I
accomplish
probably
it.
had ice cream 4 days out of the week, every day, every week in 2023, because all I wanted was to not drink alcohol. That was it. I didn't care what my body looked like. And even not really being like super strict, I still lost like 25 pounds
Oh,
because I drank so much. So
wow.
much.
So just okay, so I want to touch on that because that's a
Yeah,
huge part of my journey too. Okay, so 25 pounds just from removing alcohol, not changing anything else in your diet and routine, actually adding probably more ice cream than you were
yep,
used to previously.
yep.
Just by removing alcohol, your metabolism regulates naturally, so the ice cream's not an issue, and you're able to lose weight just by doing one thing.
I'm not dehydrated. I'm sleeping. I'm eating better overall. I mean, still certainly indulging whatever I wanted. I put no restrictions on myself. I was like, hey, listen, if you're going to quit, you're going to quit. And if you want to have french fries, you're going to have the french fries. You're just going to get through 2023 however you have to. But removing that healed so much of my body
Yes.
all on its own. And
Oh, wow. That is so beautiful.
2024
Thank you for
was a
sharing that.
yeah, 2024 was a new year, right? So walking into 2024, I said, okay, maybe we need to rein some things in. Maybe alcohol isn't the problem. Maybe we need to rein some things in. And I put more focus on overall being better to my body. For the first time in I don't even know how many years, probably 7 or 8 years, I went 30 entire days, no junk food, and I exercised every single day. And I hadn't done that in years, years. And I burst into tears. I did it in November. I burst into tears on November 30th. And I just thought, you can just keep going. Like, it doesn't end because you get sober. You still keep growing and getting better and overcoming and learn. Everything just keeps going if you do.
Right. I love that. All right. So we're coming up on our time here. So I wanted to just kind of wrap it up and ask you, was there a takeaway or any resource or routine or habit that you would like to share with everyone that you feel like was definitely something that we need to hear from you?
So, what helped me, again, there was a book that I read. It was, ooh, I think it was called Mrs. D Goes Without. And it was about a mom that was struggling with alcoholism. And it was her journal of sobriety. And every time, and I'm an Audible girl, so every time I listened to it, I would go for a walk or I would drive in my car. But it gave me the sense that I wasn't alone. It opened up all the raw feelings of what it felt like, and probably what my kids must have felt dealing with a mom that drinks all the time. That was super important for me my first 30 days because it kept me on track. And as she kept progressing, it made me feel like, okay, well, I can do this because she did it too. You know, she's a mom and she struggled with alcohol and she did it, so I'm going to try to do it too. But I think in sobriety, there are so many different avenues. I struggle with saying this is a great resource because even though it's a great resource for me, it could be nothing for somebody else.
We are grateful for whatever resource tapped into you at the perfect time for you to start on your journey. Because now that you've started on your journey, I feel like we have become closer friends.
100%.
I mean, we knew each other in passing and like in our community, but we didn't really lean into a friendship together until after we both realized we were sober.
I think you hit your 100 days and posted about it. And I think I was on like 71 or 70. It was 70 something. And you immediately reached out and like grabbed me through the internet. And I was like, oh, okay. But I
That
needed
sounds
that.
accurate.
I needed that. I needed somebody. And you happen to be local, but I needed somebody that was going through it too.
Girl, same. That's why I reached out. So, Jill, thank you so much for one, joining us today, two, sharing a little bit about your story and just letting us celebrate this journey with you. I'm so excited to one, call you a friend, two, call you a babe, and really just to continue our friendship and sisterhood together because it's beautiful, the relationships that we are nurturing in this stage in our lives. And I hope that we just continue to do that. And I hope we continue to grow together. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, Jill, for being on. And we love you so much. We are so grateful for you and all that you do for the Babes community. Thank you. You, like I said, Jill's one of the OGs. She's been here since the beginning. She actually is mentoring, I believe, some women potentially in the group now. We're kind of leaning into some of those supportive type relationship dynamics. And so that's going to be really fun and supportive. So thank you again, Jill. I really appreciate you as a friend and I appreciate you as a babe. And I really appreciate you being on today. Thank you so much. All right, babes, that's a wrap on this week's episode of the Booze Free Babes podcast. To learn more about the Booze Free Babes, check us out online at boozefreebabes.co. You can also find us on Instagram at Booze Free Babes Podcast. If you're interested in joining our private Facebook group, we invite you to do so. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.